Help support AMTV by becoming a patron, an AMTV staff member, and following us over on Twitter. Hi there guys, it's Adam Martin here, and welcome back to another instalment of the Now Review. Now 100 hits, 60s No.1s. This is quite an interesting release because Now stayed away vastly from the 1960s for a very long time. Sure, you'd have an odd 60s song crop up on like a Legends type CD or a Classics type CD, but they actually didn't do a proper full-on 60s album until I think it was like 2015, 2016, only a few years ago when they did Now That's What I Call 60s. They also had a 60s release earlier this year in Now That's What I Call, or Now 100 Hits, Forgotten 60s, I should say, which came out at the start of the pandemic, funnily enough. And I thought it was interesting they went with that first, the Forgotten songs, because now this one, which is just 60s No.1s, will be more recognisable. But hey, we've had now 80s No.1s, 90s No.1s, so of course 60s No.1s was going to come thick and fast. And let's have a look at this cover. Of course, they've gone with a very classic emblem of the 60s in the background, that being the flowers. You know, flower power was in, the hippie movement, all that sort of stuff. I really do adore like the pink shades mixed with like the light purples and the yellows. Again, very 60s-esque colours, really riffing on that 60s hippie movement. The logo's interesting that it is the standard Now font, but it's got like these weird like lines in them, almost like slats. I don't know what 60s design that's trying to riff off, if any. It just seems like it's a very interesting choice. It's not bad, but it is certainly noticeable. And they've got the No.1s down here, which again is styled in that very sort of 60s-esque font. I like that they have been changing them for the most part for that, not just sort of having a generic one. It gives its own little character. So yeah, if you don't like pink, you're in trouble, but I actually really like this cover. And you'll notice in the top left there, this is actually on 4 CDs instead of 5. It's still 100 hits, but 25 songs per disc. I'll get into why a little bit later, but let's twizzle this thing around. And of course, there is your 4 discs in this horrible blocky paragraph font. So if I open it up, we'll see what we've got. But the first thing, of course, is this, which is the coverless, the logo-less cover, I should say, they've done for a while. And again, that just looks quite nice. A bit standard, it is literally just some flowers, but again, evoking that 60s design very well. And you've got the follow now on all the social medias, which I highly recommend you do if you're a fan and you want to keep up to date with things. And they've gone for this again. I think they did this for Now 100 Hits Forgotten 60s, if I'm right. They sort of went for that old sort of, you know, vinyl-esque design, vinyl sleeves, which is very cool because vinyl singles in the 60s was really sort of when things took off in that field. So that's quite nice. But let's have a look at what is on each of these discs. Which No.1s did they go for? Well, they certainly went for some classics to kick off with. They got the Animals with House of the Rising Sun, great song, Marvin Gaye, the Supremes. I mean, you just take a look down this list and there's so many iconic names from this era you're bound to recognise, such as, I mean, the Beach Boys and Roy Orbison. I mean, I'm sure you scan it. Fleetwood Mac, some of their earliest hits with Albatross, of course. King of the Road, what a great song that is. Doesn't get played often enough these days. Baby Come Back. And this one finishes with the very iconic song by Jerry and the Pacemakers, which is You'll Never Walk Alone, which ironically now is the theme for Liverpool Football Club, of course. So having lived in Liverpool, I hear that song a lot, but a great song it is too. And you'll notice, yes, it is 25 songs per disc, but I mean, if you listen to a lot of 60 songs, those songs were short. A lot of them clock in at under 3 minutes long, so yeah, it's probably why it's on 4 discs, saves them time as well. CD2 kicks off with some more Roy Orbison. I mean, Only the Lonely, again, very classic song. Some Jim Reeves, The Shadows, Elvis Presley, yes, we're still having hits. I'm glad they've got The Searchers on there. The Searchers were sort of lost a bit in the shuffle of the whole Mersey beat thing with the Beatles, but honestly, they're a really great band. They've got some really great songs. Some songs that I'd argue are better than Beatles songs, actually. I've seen them perform live. They're really great. Listen to The Searchers, definitely. Got some Cliff Richard on here. Of course, he'd make an appearance at some point. He was big back then, of course. This one finishes with the Tremolos with Silence is Golden, which is a really lovely song. I've always liked that one. Some people think it's a bit dreary, but I'd recommend giving it a listen. Okay, CD3's kicking off with the Walker Brothers, Where the Sun Ain't Gonna Shine Anymore. Excellent song there. Obla Di Obla Da's on here because, of course, it is. Lily the Pink, yes. Cliff Richard again with Congratulations as well. You've got the Trogs. You've got Cilla Black. Nice to see Cilla Black get some recognition on here. She doesn't often feature on these sort of things. You've got a version of Michelle on there, which actually isn't the Beatles song. That was I can't remember the story. It was like an Australian band that did it, but that also got to #1, which is insane when you think about it. You got The Crazy World of Arthur Brown, second to last track with Fire, which is, if you don't know what Fire is, like the song, it's such a bizarre song, but absolutely is worth a listen. It's so, so crazy. And this one finishes with Zager and Brown in the year Zager and Evans, in the year 2025, which I've not actually heard, so I'll be looking forward to hearing that one. Okay, last disc, CD4. You got the Walker Brothers again with Make It Easy on Yourself. More great artists on here. I mean, look at these. It's hard for me to see with my eyes in the distance I am, but I can see some of the big names, and I mean, I'm sure a lot of you know it. The Searchers are on there again with Sweets for My Sweet, which was their first big hit. Really bubblegum pop, you know, very cheesy, but very, very good at the same time. Des O'Connor's on there, finishing with Louis Armstrong, and What a Wonderful World. What a nice way to finish off these 100 hits. And I'll focus on this quickly because obviously you can see all the discs, and they are in this really nice yellow background with purple logos on each of them and some purple and white flowers. Again, really good use of colour contrast here. Yellow and purple always work really well, and the white's thrown in there. It's not too overpowering, but it's just the right dash that you need. Well, that was your track list, and definitely like a nice mix of different parts of the 60s there. I thought there would have been a bit more Motown on there. I couldn't read all the tracks from this distance, but from the names I could see, I didn't see a lot of Motown representation on there. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but that would have been nice. And also, I just want to talk about this packaging. I know it's on 4 discs, which makes it easier, but because the case is thinner, it gets creased a lot more easily. Like, I don't know if you can see, there's like a crease already. That came as part of it. When I took off the shrink wrap, it was already there. Sadly, it just means these cases are a bit flimsy. I do like the flipbook style. Now's been doing it for a very long time, but they don't have the same longevity as, say, some of the sturdier cases. But they are thinner on the shelf. Now, who is this for? Well, obviously, if you're a child of the 60s, if you love your 60s music, especially the mainstream stuff that got to #1, as this says, then you should absolutely pick this one up. It's great value for money. It's anywhere from between sort of £10 and £13. You're getting 100 great songs from the 60s on one album. You know, that should sell the purchase to you alone. It's available in all of the major supermarkets, I believe, so Tesco, Sainsbury's, Morrison's, and hopefully when we come out of lockdown, you'll be able to get it from places like HMV or any independent retailer that still stocks new CDs. You can buy it off Amazon, but don't give Jeff Bezos your money. He's got enough of it. Solidly, though, I like this one. I love 60s music. I think I preferred the Forgotten 60s album earlier this year, though, purely because, again, it was featuring a lot of songs I had no knowledge of or didn't know, so there was more of a discovery. This one, it was sort of bit more predictable. I sort of knew what I was going to get, which is the whole point of the album. So if you know what you want and you know what you're going to get with this, definitely pick it up. But that is all for this installment of the Now Review. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please remember to leave a like on this video and let me know in the comments down below, are you going to be getting Now 100 Hits 60s #1s, that long mouthful, or are you going to pass on this one? Subscribe to the channel for more Now content, and until the next one, I will see you guys next time. Thank you to our patrons for helping to support the show, and a special thank you to Macra, Hooks Media, Ben Freeman, Ethan Carberry-Holt, Bruce Danton, The Broken Kitsumanoid, Tobos Krotz, and Polsky Liz, our AMTV staff members.